All right, welcome to the Try Curious Triathlon Info Session. I am Adina O'Neill. I'm the founder and head joy coach at Team Be Real. I like to say where we build belief, belonging, and confidence in all athletes. This session is, oh, my dog is making weird noises. This session is geared towards people who are new to the triathlon world, could be brand new, maybe a little dabbled before, maybe you've done one or two, maybe you've just heard the word and you're like, it's on my radar. Just to give you an idea of what's going on. Here's what we're going to do for the next hour-ish. We'll give you a little introduction, give you some ideas of where to start, what you need, talk about mindsets, answer some of your questions, and then I actually have a program called a tripod, which I will explain to you. If that is of interest to you, we can talk about that as well. So, a little bit about me. I am a marathon and ice swimmer, along with being a triathlete. Swimming got me into the world of triathlon, and then triathlon got me into the greater world of marathon and ice swimming, which is my predominant sport right now. I My very first triathlon I did was I swam as part of a relay down at Nantasket Beach, where they used to have a triathlon there. And then my kids kind of taunted me and said that I should do one. I did not like to run, and I eventually did. A friend of mine pulled me into doing a 5K. And then after that, they were just like, well, now you know how to run, so I guess you have to do a triathlon. And so I figured it out, and the rest, as they say, is history. But quite honestly, like that first experience was just, it was so fun to be part of an event for adults that you could just go out and kind of have fun and have that a little bit of competition. I can be a little competitive with myself, but just kind of fun, and it made you feel like a kid again, like just getting out there and trying something new that you don't think you can do, and and just kind of seeing what you're capable of when you don't expect that you can actually do it. Because I am not one of those people who's like, someday I'm going to do a triathlon. And I was not a huge athlete growing up. I mean, I did a lot of sports, but I was never like a very serious kind of athlete or an intense athlete. I like to have fun, and I like to move. So triathlon was a great sport for me as an adult. So a couple other things about myself. I am an inclusion champion, and what that means is I spend a lot of time reinforcing the fact that everybody belongs in these kinds of sports. There is a space in triathlon for anybody. And sometimes it takes just a little bit of understanding of kind of how to approach it. But I work very hard in the triathlon space, the swimming space, the endurance space, sports space in general, to really kind of encourage people to recognize that they belong. You do not have to be an elite athlete to be a triathlete, to participate in the world of triathlon. There's so many ways that you can participate. And I really want you to feel like you belong, and to know that, you don't have to change who you are. You just belong as you are. And we'll talk about that a little later as well. I am a coach. I coach. So I'm obviously the coach of Team Be Real, and I coach privately. I coach swimming. I coach triathletes. I coach learn to swim. So those are kind of my specialties. I love to work with new athletes, and I work with a lot of older athletes who either kind of never were athletes, or athletes who became athletes later in life, or they were athletes before and now they're not, or like all the moms who like stopped everything in their life to be moms for 10 or 20 years and then came back to sport. So those are kind of my favorites. I am an author. I wrote a book. You see the photo of my son. That's my son up there when I first published my book called Forward as a Pace. And that book has that message as the inclusion champion that you are here to go at your own pace. Yes, people are trying to go fast. Yes, we are constantly celebrating and rewarding the people who are going the fastest and winning, but we can celebrate ourselves at any pace that we're going, and all of your effort totally counts. So that's kind of the premise of that book. It talks a lot about how I went from that kind of awkward athlete and turned into a confident coach, but also tells the stories of some of the athletes who I've worked with and the lessons that we've all learned over time that endurance sports brings to us. And finally, motivational speaker. I love to share this message with any groups that find it useful. I've spoken at open water swim conferences. I've spoken to middle school girls who were part of a triathlon program. I've spoken to other triathlon teams and groups. So if you're part of a group that is looking for any type of motivational speaking in this area, I have a few kind of signature talks that I do. Feel free to reach out to me separately. I love to kind of spread the happiness and joy wherever I can. I do want to say we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. The funky thing about this is there. I know there's a chat. Oh, here's a chat. Okay, I lost my little chat screen, and I'm just seeing that now. Barbara, are you good now? I did see you log back off and log back on. I'm hoping you can hear now that everything's good. Sorry about that.
I no, thank you. Yeah, I had to finally. I tried twice on the laptop and finally switched to my phone. So it's a
Oh,
little harder to see what's on the screen, but I'm just like using those readers.
yeah, yeah. No, it's I also taught second grade for 10 years. So I like to try to connect and, have that multiple kind of learning options. I personally am very visual, but I do also like to listen to people. You can get a lot more inflection, obviously, from people's voices. But at any time, if you do have questions, I just pulled the chat up so I can keep an eye on that as well. But before we even get started, if you guys can, if you're comfortable to come off mute and speak, that's totally fine. Or just drop in the chat, have you ever done a triathlon before? A simple yes or no is good. And we're going to talk about, where to start. And for a lot of different people, you can start in a variety of places. What I've got on the screen right here are the two kind of most popular entry level triathlon distances. Okay, so Libby has never done a triathlon. Awesome, you're in the right place. So these are the most popular entry level position distances for triathlons. The sprint is probably the most popular, and I have to tell you, when I first started entering and talking about triathlon, the word sprint actually scared me. Everyone's like, "Oh, do a sprint," and I was like, I can't like sprint. Like, I'm not a fast person. I don't have, if you've ever heard of those type 2 fast twitch muscles that kind of make you go fast. I don't have the fast twitch muscles. I can go forever, but I'm not a super like sprinty kind of person. And when I heard that word, I was like, I have to sprint the whole thing. And someone reassured me that no, that's just the distance. That word refers to the distance. The elite athletes, when they do a short triathlon like this, a sprint triathlon, they're going fast the whole time, but it's okay if we're not. And the sprint distance is probably the most variable of the distances, because you can have the swim is anywhere from like it can be a quarter mile up to a half mile. The bike will be like 10 to 15 miles, can be more, can be less. And the run is usually around a 5K, but there are some races that will have a slightly longer run, like the Sharon Triathlon, for those of us in the Boston area, is like a 4.4 mile run. Okay, and Bars, I've done the DW Field Tri bike kayak run, which was sort of a sprint. Okay, so similar in distance to that entry level distances, and kayaking instead of the swim. Yeah. The interesting thing about triathlon, it's part of what we call a multi-sport, in the multi-sport category, and they are changing and developing and growing, where some people don't like to run, so they have a lot of options now that are called aqua bike, where you swim and you bike. Or some people don't own a bike, so they'll have an aquathlon where you swim and you run. And obviously, with this example that Barbara said, for people who don't like to swim in open water, kayak, or sometimes you'll have a duathlon where you run, bike, run. So there's a lot of neat options in the multi-sport world that kind of everyone kind of lumps them in with triathlon, but there are different options depending on you what you like to do, what you have available to you, what your body is capable of doing. It's there's a lot of options. So the other kind of entry level distance for, some people already have, kind of a fitness level where they are able to bike a certain, 26 miles and run 10K and swim, a mile. So if you already have those abilities or close to them separately, there's no reason that you can't jump into that Olympic distance. It's called the Olympic distance because they do it at the Olympics. This is the one you'll see at the Olympics and the Summer Olympics. And some people also refer to it as the standard distance triathlon. And then from there, there's also a half distance triathlon and a full distance triathlon. The full distance is the Ironman brand, if you've heard of that. That's 140.6 miles total, and that's kind of the, for some people, that's like the big Kahuna, and that's the one that's often televised, in the one that's in Hawaii. That was the original Iron Man. Is these, a swimmer, a biker, and a runner got together and they said, "Oh, I wonder who's the best athlete. And let's take the hardest swim we know, the hardest run we know, and the hardest bike we know, and just throw them all together and see who makes it." So that's kind of how the Iron Man, that full distance triathlon, was born. But where are you starting? The first thing that you're going to do is take a moment to reflect about your own personal ability. Ask yourself, do I know how to swim? Do I know how to bike? Do I know how to run? Do I have the necessary gear for those sports? And to what ability can I accomplish these sports? So, for example, when I first started, I was a very confident swimmer. I did not own a bike, but I knew how to bike. And I was like, I probably can, bike 10 miles if I, put in some effort. And running was scary. It was just like, I did not know, first of all, how I was going to run 3 miles. And second of all, how I was going to run 3 miles after I already swam and biked. So, looking at that sprint distance for me was it was really scary to think about putting those things together. And there are so many different other options. A vast majority of triathletes come to the world as cyclists and or runners, and they add the swim. So there's a huge population of athletes who are very nervous about the swim, and who just, are kind of trying to survive the swim. And I've worked with a number of it's a big challenge, and it's a fun challenge for many people. So I've worked with a lot of athletes who come to me and say, "Hey, I want to do this triathlon, but I don't know how to swim." And it can take some time. I know I was chatting with Libby before we kind of went live here, and she told me that she's a big swimmer. So you've already kind of got an advantage to from that perspective. And the swim is kind of the trickiest part to manage because you're in the water, and people just often get nervous in the water. Oh, okay. Thanks for sharing, Barbara. So Barbara said the swim is her greatest challenge and fear, especially in the open water. And you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there, but it's such an opportunity. Whether it's the swim for you, it was the run for me. It's amazing how you can accomplish these things that kind of give you a little bit of fear. So the my advice is to think about where you are. So you guys have already have those ideas. What are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? What am I capable of doing? Um, and then decide for yourself, well, how much time do I actually have to commit to putting this training in? What else is happening in my personal life? Do you have a family that you have responsibilities with? Could be children, could be parents, could be siblings that you help take care of. Do you have a job that is time consuming, that is flexible, that is rigid? Do you have vacation plans already in place? Like all of this goes into deciding what you can accomplish. Right now, as we're recording this, it's June 17th. And in the Boston area, there's a number of triathlons in late August and September, which is really nice because, it gives you June, July, August, September, 2 to 3 months is plenty of time to prepare a sprint triathlon. That's a lot of time. Now, if you're a person who does not know how to swim at all, you got to get on your swimming quickly because you need to learn how to swim and then practice in the open water. If you're someone who does not know how to run at all or does not run at all, then you're going to start working. Maybe you're speed walking. Maybe you are run walking where you're using intervals. But these are the questions that you're going to ask yourself. Look at your own ability, look at the time you have until the event, and look at the time you have available within your life to kind of pull all that stuff together. So that's your starting point. Okay. Any questions about that you want to throw out before we move on to the next piece? Just give a you can, like I said, you can either chat them or you can come right off mute. No? Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going then. If you have not already received, I have a free base building plan that is available. I mean, it's free. That's what it's called, right? It's available to you. You may have already received it. If you have not received it and you're interested in that, make sure to reach out to me afterwards, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of it. But what I did is I just wanted to kind of throw it on the screen so we had a little bit of conversation about how you build a plan. So this base builder, I've got three options, right? You're going to think about where you are. Maybe you're at this beginner option, and maybe you're at a complete, I would like to complete the option, or maybe you're kind of more intermediate and you want to compete. Okay. Yes, Barbara, I am seeing that you haven't gotten it. I'm making a note. Okay, so when you look at these plans, you start to look at, like, this is an example. Okay, this is how I set it up. I like to have a combination of swim, bike, run, and also strength training is very important to do strength training to protect your muscles, or rather to build your muscles that will then protect the rest of your body. Strong muscles turn into strong swimming, biking, and running, but it also protects you so that way your body is stable and it will lead to less injury as you're asking your body to do more things. So everything on this plan is in minutes. So for example, if we just looked at the beginner one, I'd say, okay, well, let's see, we're going to swim 10 to 20 minutes, and we're going to do core exercises, 5 to 15 minutes. Tuesday, we're going to bike 20 to 30 minutes, more core exercises. Wednesday is strength. Triathletes love to think that strength is a rest day. It is not a rest day. You should be working, if you're working on strength, you're still using energy. Um, Thursday, a complete rest day. It is so important to give your body time to rest and recover. And then Friday, you've got a 10 to 20-minute run and some stretching. Saturday, strength, and then Sunday is another rest day. So that's a plan for a beginner. So if you look at that, says, well, I'm already there, or that's too much, then maybe then you look at the complete version and say, okay, well, what are these kind of times look like? And there's a little more involved with that, or the intermediate slash compete. And you can see that it's even a little bit more. Now, for some athletes are going to look at this and say, wow, that looks easy for me. Or parts of it look easy and parts of it look hard. And that's where you're going to try to mix and match a little bit yourself. Or when we talk about the tripod, or even like if you're part of the team or part of my coaching program, that's where I would come in and help you kind of customize it. But if you're someone who knows your own body and can understand the plan and be able to mix and match it, you can do that in order to get yourself ready. This is just building a base before we even get to like an 8-week plan. So in theory, if you haven't done anything, this will kind of build the routine so your body gets used to swimming, biking, running, and doing some strength work on a regular basis. So that way, then you get ready and you've got this 8-week plan ish to get yourself ready for the triathlon. And you might be someone who just needs 2 weeks of this, to get yourself together. It all depends on what your personal inventory is. Okay, so what do you actually need to succeed? Three things: gear, support, and training plan. So let's talk about it. The gear, obviously, if you're going to swim and bike and run, the necessities. You need a swimsuit for training, a swim cap, and a pair of goggles. If you are swimming in cold water, you may want a wetsuit. You may be okay swimming in cold water without a wetsuit. Um, that is personal preference. Um, there are races around here that will allow you to wear wetsuits up to a certain temperature. Usually it's like 78 or 80 degrees. And the water temperature, not the air temperature. And every race will tell you, the race directors will tell you their rules on the wetsuits. If they are governed by USA Triathlon, they'll follow USA Triathlon rules, but it's basically in that like 80, off the top of my head, I think it's like 80 degrees, somewhere in that category, that they'll start saying that wetsuits are not safe to wear because you'll be too hot. And then, if you're in freshwater versus saltwater, the freshwater around here gets warm very fast. The saltwater not so fast. Currently, the lakes and ponds around in this area are, in the like high. They're already in like the 70s. And I was just in the ocean today, actually, and it was 63. So there's a difference. And when I first started out, I wore a wetsuit all summer long, and now I never wear a wetsuit. So it kind of all depends on your comfort level as to what you'll want to wear. But whatever the case is, you want to practice your gear. You don't want to go into a race, go to a triathlon and have it be the first time you're wearing a wetsuit, or the first time you're trying out a new pair of goggles or anything like that. You always want to, nothing new on race day. So swim, this is pretty straightforward. Biking is always like a big question. If you're doing your first triathlon, you can use any bike you want. And here's the thing, like people get really nervous, like I need a fancy road bike or a tri bike, or and what's going to happen? I need something special. You really don't. You don't need a fancy bike. Now, if you show up to a triathlon and you have a leisure bike or a comfort bike or a mountain bike or even a hybrid type bike, you may find yourself struggling. Like there's a reason people do triathlons on road bikes. Like those mountain bikes and leisure bikes have fat tires, and fat tires make a lot of friction and then you'll go slower. If you don't care about your time, who cares? Like I've seen plenty of people do triathlons on all kinds of bikes. If you have a road bike that then has smaller tires, they're more aerodynamic, they're made to go faster, then yes, you are going to go faster than if you have a mountain bike. You may ride any bike you want. The only rules are that they have to have end caps. So like they can't be open on the end, and almost every bike does have end caps on them. And I feel like there's one other rule that I'm forgetting. That's the big one. They have to have the end caps. I think that's it actually. And you have to have a helmet. You have to have a helmet. Have to have a helmet. So that is a necessity. You do not need to have clip-in pedals. You do not need to have any kind of special bike shoes. You can use regular standard flat pedals and sneakers. You don't need to have anything fancy. It's just got to be a bike that you can ride. Yeah, that's about it for the bike. And then running, get yourself a good pair of running shoes. Running is the most strenuous part on your body. So you really want to have a good pair of shoes that fits you well and supports you well. Your feet are your foundation, and if your feet are not supported properly, then it can lead to problems with ankles, knees, hips, a whole bunch of other stuff. So I always recommend to go to a running shoe store. Like around here, we have Marathon Sports, and you can go in and they'll fit you for a pair of running shoes. There's no fee to do it. You just walk in and you say, "Oh, I want a pair of running shoes." They'll watch how you walk. They may watch how you run. Some of them have little computers that measure where the pressure is on your feet based on how you stand. It's pretty cool. And then they'll give you a couple of different options. They'll suggest a couple of different options for shoes. And some of them will let you like either run around in the store. I went to one Marathon Sports in the Boston area that let you actually run down the street with the shoes on, so to see how they feel. It is definitely worth it to go and kind of get that shoe fitting, so that way you know what you're wearing. And as far as women go, get yourself a good sports bra. It is really a great thing to have a good sports bra. Barbara, I see your hand is raised. You have a question.
So I am in the past, I always had a regular width and I'd always end up going half size up because I could never find wide. Now
Yeah.
I buy New Balances. New Balances work. They have wide widths.
Hmm.
And so I had gone down half size. Found that when I stopped running, just for like I've always bought running shoes even for leisure.
Yeah.
That's my kind of go-to style. But recently I ran in what would be like my regular shoe size, 6 wide. And I found that the only thing that hurt after my half marathon was my toenail bends. And so I was reading,
Too short.
and yeah, and it said that they recommend either a half size or a full size bigger and just do the runner's knots or whatever.
Yep.
So is that, I see you nodding, so I'm going to take that as a confirmation.
100%. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the people, yeah, there's a whole story about people losing toenails. I have I've done one standalone marathon. I've done one Ironman that includes a marathon. I've done bunch of half marathons, 10Ks. I used to teach Zumba. I've never lost a toenail because my shoes fit properly. You need a little space in your shoes for your feet. If the end of your shoe is here and you're constantly jamming the end of your shoe against your toenails, then yeah, that you're going to lose a toenail. The other thing I do is I take care. I get regular pedicures when I'm running a lot, and you can give yourself pedicures. But for me, I that was something that I enjoyed. But you take care of your feet. And make sure you cut your toenails so that way they're not jamming into the end of your shoe. There are a lot more options. I have wide feet as well. There's a lot more options now. I also used to wear New Balance because they were the only ones that offered a wide width. Um, the current ones that are that I like are Ultra, Altra. I also have a spelling problem. They have a really wide toe box, and the other one is Topo has a wide toe box. I haven't tried those. I tried Ultras and I really enjoy them. So that's another option that you can look into, but that is definitely a thing. Yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
Thank
Um,
you so much.
yeah. And and then the other thing to keep in mind is then everyone says, "Well, how do I put it all together?" Right? It's just like I'm going to swim and I'm going to bike and I'm going to run. So and that's when the tri suit comes into play. You don't need a tri suit to do your first triathlon. My first triathlon, I wore a like a bathing suit bottom and a sports bra. No, I didn't wear a bathing suit bottom. I wore a pair of spandex shorts. I wore a pair of spandex shorts and a sports bra underneath a wetsuit. And then when I came out, I took my wetsuit on and I put a running shirt on. And I rode my bike with my spandex pants and a running shirt. It's a shorter on the shorter distances. I'm okay to ride 10 or 15 miles on my bike without a padded short. Um, and that's fine. Throw there I've seen people wear swimsuits with their sports bras underneath and they put shorts on top of them. I personally am not comfortable with a swimsuit underneath the shorts. But it's up to you to try and see what feels the best for you. A swim If you have I eventually did do one where I had a swimsuit bottom um and a sports bra. um but I was able to change the swimsuit bottom for my bike shorts. That's when I was doing a longer distance. But the tri suit then is a one piece, and there's a one piece option, or you can get a two-piece option. It has a light padding in the shorts, so that way you're a little more comfortable on the bike, but it's a light padding versus to a thick padding that you have on a bike short, so you're not like running around in a wet diaper. And it dries a little quicker, so that way you don't have to worry about being too cold. In this picture, actually, so Kate here in the back with the red helmet on, she's wearing tri shorts and a tri top. I'm wearing a bike jersey. Allison has a run singlet on. So we've got some different things in here. We were just biking that day, so no one was worrying about what they were doing afterwards. But I have seen and I have done myself a triathlon where you just wear like a run jersey with triathlon shorts that have the thinner chamois. Chamois is what they call the little padding, the chamois or the chamois. So those are, and like obviously we all have helmets on. That's a necessity. We've all got sunglasses on. I mean, I do not like to ride a bike without glasses because bugs fly in your eyes and it hurts. Can you ride a bike without glasses? Of course. But it's a good idea. So those are kind of the necessities you need. And yeah, it is nice to have the tri suit. It makes it a little easier, but you can get by with wearing kind of regular clothes. There are plenty of people who do that. So as far as other things you need, support network is key. And there's a lot of different ways you can define your support network. My husband is my biggest supporter. He rarely comes to events. He's been to a few. He'll come if I ask him, but he's a huge support for me on a daily basis. He supports me when I was like, I need to wake up early and go swim, or I'm going out to bike for 2 hours, or, you know, I complaining about my runs, as often it would happen for me. But he's very supportive, and on the days that I'm excited, he cheers me on. On the days when I'm having a bad day, he cheers me on and reminds me of all the days that I was excited. Like it's really important to have someone in your life. It could be a friend who's training with you. It could be a team, for example. If you have a local triathlon club, if you're local to the greater Boston area, come join Team Be Real. We train together. If you're not in the Boston area, we have an online community as well. Um, and you just find people who you kind of connect with, who have the same goals as you. And it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm doing, the this sprint triathlon and I'm doing this sprint triathlon. It's the same triathlon, but the same type of goals. At Team Be Real, we're always encouraging each other to do whatever goal makes us happy. But there's not a lot of pressure to be fast, or to, there are certain teams that are like, if you're not training for an Ironman, then, you're not important to them. There's none of that goes on our team. So you find, a person, it depends on, it's your personality. And there are people who I coach who don't like to do any of the team activities. They just want to do their own training on their own. And that's fine. And I'm their support network as their coach. And there are other people who like to come and do everything with the team and have that community base. There's some single women on the team, or people who are in a family and they're like, oh, this is my me time. I get to hang out with friends. So decide for you what that support network, what kind of support do you need, and who's going to be that network for you? Friends, family, cycling clubs that you can bike with, swimming groups that you can swim with, running clubs. I also have a community at the gym where I do my strength training. So all those people can be part of your support network, and you get to decide, what you need and what helps you the most. And then the last thing is a training plan. Obviously, you've got access to the 4 week base building plan to get yourself started. But even after that, if you're training for a sprint triathlon or an Olympic triathlon, and if you fall in love with the sport and decide you want to go for those other distances, just having that plan to kind of guide you along is so important. On one hand, most people think it's important so you do enough to get ready. It is also extremely important so you don't do too much. Because if you're doing too much and too much too fast, that's when you're going to increase your risk for injury. And surprisingly, your body, like your heart can do more quickly, and even some of your muscles can do more quickly than like your tendons, and your oh my gosh, what's the other one? Muscles, tendons, ligaments. Whoo, it's okay. So like your ligaments and tendons, they take a longer time to get used to all of this. So it's important to have a training plan and know, no one's telling you that you're limited in what you can achieve, but there's a way to be smart about your training so you don't get injured in the first place. Any questions about sport networks, training plans? We are rocking and rolling. Oh, I'm doing okay. All right. I like to talk, so sometimes I like to keep track of time here to be respectful. Okay, so mindset. Triathlons are hard. I probably should have looked up a statistic to share, and I didn't think of it until I was just about to say this. So I will add that to my next upgrade. But there's a small percentage of people who have done a triathlon, and if it's something that's exciting to you, then try it, right? You're allowed to be a beginner. You're allowed to not know what's going on. And the first time you do it, I remember the first time I was like, I had no idea. And people start talking to you about things like transition, and they don't even say transition, T1 and T2 and all this other. They start throwing all this verbiage at you that you have no idea what's going on. And they're like, you listen to the more experienced athletes and the things they're talking about, and like it can be very overwhelming because we talked about basic gear, and there's so much more that can go into it. And when you start hearing about people and they're like heart rate monitors and power meters and bike trainers, and you're like, oh, it can be a lot. It can be a lot. But just remind yourself that if you're trying this out and it's new for you, find the joy and just be open to it being exciting, right? And just see what's going to happen. And that's, I like to say curious, right? Get curious. Like, I wonder what's going to happen if I do this. Let me try this. There You'll hear people talking about, oh, I just don't want to be last, or I just want to finish. Well, here's my take on that. If you're last, you still showed up for yourself and you did something really incredible. And if it's important to you to be better than somebody else, well, you've beaten all the people who didn't even show up. So there's no shame in being last. If you didn't finish, okay, so you're going to learn something. You learned what it's like to try to put three sports together. You learned the things that you're lacking, and that you have not yet accomplished, and you learned where your limit was for that day, and you're learning, wow, do I want to challenge myself to try this harder, or oh, that really was more than I wanted to take on, right? There's no shame in coming in last. There's no shame in not finishing. It's all about how you attack it for yourself. And if you look at it in your own mind as, I'm going to find some joy, and I'm going to, I have on the screen setting personal goals. You get to decide for yourself what success is. If success is, I mean, you showed up today. That's success number one, right? It's like, okay, I'm interested in this. I'm curious about it. So then you get to decide, oh, let's see. Maybe I'm going to try for a sprint. Maybe I'm going to try for an Olympic. Maybe I want to do a relay. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Oh, well, I said that was my first triathlon was a relay, but you can go to a triathlon and be part of a relay. And you say, well, maybe I'm not ready to do the whole thing yet, but I want to see what it's like. Get together with other people and do a relay. We're going as a team in a couple of weeks to a triathlon in Kingston, New York, and I'm doing a lot of training for a big swim right now, and I do not want to risk being on a bike around a lot of other people. So I'm doing a relay with someone else on the team who's going to bike and run. And that's a great way. I've done it before. And people are like, I'm new to this. Can I just run and see what it all even looks like and feels like? That's a great entry point as well. So you really get to choose and decide what success is going to look like. Maybe success is getting through the training program and showing up that day, no matter what happens. So, let's keep in mind that only you get to decide what that success is. You set the goals for yourself. You decide and find that joy. And, hey, if you end up on a podium and if that's important to you, then go for that. If you're just wanting to see, can I put these three sports together and get across the finish line? That's amazing. And maybe you have, little goals within it that says, wow, I know I'm a really good swimmer, so I'm going to go hard for the swim and just see if I can get through the bike and the run. Or I'm going to see if I can finish the swim. Barbara was saying that she's a little nervous about open water swimming. She's like, that could be, finishing that swim is already a huge accomplishment. So you get to decide for yourself what those goals are. All right. So it's all about positive mindset. This is something that I'm very passionate about, and I work all the time with within the team. We have regular mindset. Sometimes we have guests come on and talk to us as well, but I take a lot of time to talk about mindset and just reframe things so that way you look at it in a positive way for your own self, because it's so easy to be hard on ourselves. I do it to myself now. It's like, oh my gosh, that was not slow, that was not fast, that's not what I wanted to do. But I'm out there doing it, whether it's perfect or not. We always have to keep reminding ourselves and celebrate the steps that we're taking. Okay. Any other questions? We'll take a little break.
I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but I was wondering if you could remind me of the dates for the um, mini mini sprint thingies at the Y.
Oh yes. So at the Y, yes, thank you. I did not put any dates in here actually for the triathlons, which would have been smart. So there is a at the Stoughton Y where I coach. And I coach a master's program for anybody who's looking for a place to improve their swimming. And I also do private lessons there. So if you need swim help, that's where you can find me. At the Stoughton Y, I brought a program called the Forward as a Pace Triathlon, and it is an indoor timed triathlon. So what that means is instead of when we looked at, let's see if I can go backwards. Oh, I can't. Nope, I can't go backwards. When we looked at these distances, outdoor triathlons are based on distances. You're going to swim a certain distance, bike a certain distance, run a certain distance, and see the amount of time it takes you. At the Y, we do a timed triathlon. So you'll have 15 minutes to swim, whatever that distance you can swim in 15 minutes. You have 30 minutes to ride your bike, whatever distance that is, and 20 minutes to run or walk, whatever distance that may be. And the next one that we have at the Stoughton Y is July 26th. We're actually doing it in the outdoor pool. So we'll have the outdoor pool. We're going to haul these spin bikes outside. So we're going to ride the bikes outside, and we're going to run or walk around the parking lot. So that will be on July 26th, and I'm waiting for the sign up link is not live yet, but once I have it, I will send it out uh, to to the email list. So as long as you're getting emails from me, you'll get um, that link as well. The other
And
triathlons that are coming up, which I have them all on my little calendar. So so we've got in August, there's the Sharon Triathlon, which is August 9th. The Boston Tri is August 23rd. The Cranberry Tri is also August 23rd. And then we've got the Pumpkin Man, which is in Maine. We're the Team Be Real. We're going up as a team to Pumpkin Man. That's a great event. Super, super fun. And then the Title Nine, which is September. Did I say the date? Pumpkin Man was September 12th. And then the Title Nine Tri, which is an all women's triathlon in Hopkinton, is on the 13th. So those are some great triathlons in the area. in the Boston area here. And like I said, I'll be at Pumpkin Man. I probably will be at the Boston Try. We often will go and volunteer there. And that's a nice one. That's a good beginner's try because it's very flat. It's totally flat, so you don't have to worry about hills. And it's in the ocean, but it's a protected ocean. Pumpkin Man and Tidal Nine and Cranberry are all freshwater lakes and ponds, and they've got a variety of hills involved. But they're all pretty beginner friendly, fun environments. So those are great. Those are great events. Uh,
Adina, can you repeat you said there was August 23rd is Boston, and which one was the other one? And on that date?
Cranberry Tri-Fest. It's in Freetown. Freetown? Freetown. I think it is. Freetown is the name. Yeah. That's a great and Boston, Cranberry, and Pumpkin Man all have sprint and Olympic distance options. The Title Nine is a sprint only.
When where's Title Nine? What date is Title Nine?
Title Nine is September 13th. It's in Hopkinton.
I also had a question
Yeah.
about training. So yeah, I'm sort of eyeing the Boston Try. I've heard it's good for beginners. I am familiar with that body of water. Like it seems like
Yeah.
a very flat, as you said, it seems like a good one to start with. But because I'm still, not even sure that I'm mostly thinking I want to try it and see if I have fun. Like that's sort of
Yeah.
where is this something I want to invest in? So I don't currently own a bike. Again, one of the things that's great about the Boston one is I saw that you can rent a bike for the day. I thought that seemed really nice. But in terms of trying to train for biking when I don't own a bike, how do you feel about, yeah, sort of like stationary bikes or like spin classes as an option for training? And then what things would you need to keep in mind for transitioning to road, like real road biking on the day of when you
Yeah.
haven't really prepared that specifically?
So using a spin bike or an indoor bike is a great option. There are many people who do a majority of their training indoors because they don't like to ride on roads with cars,
Mm-hmm.
which is completely understandable. The caution is that if you're not used to riding on a road with other cyclists, and specifically for the Boston Try, so the Boston Try is all on Day Boulevard and it's just
Mm-hmm.
loops on Day Boulevard. And the sprint is 2 loops and the Olympic is 4 loops. So that makes a lot of bikes. Um,
Okay.
my suggestion would be you can do the majority of your training on the indoor bikes. And then, at least, a week or two before, have a bike, if you can get the bike a week, at least a week or two before to get some experience outside, hop on a bike path or go bike on Day Boulevard, when to see what it's like. Similar to the fact that, when you're swimming, you don't want to wait until the day of have it be your first day in the open water. It's something that needs to be practiced for your safety and for everybody else's safety. Because if you're not comfortable riding a bike on the road, and if you've never done it, and maybe you're going to be nervous, or you're just not used to handling the bike on the road and making the turns, like at the Boston, you're making like 180-degree turns, right, to turn around. You just want to make sure that you've practiced that, so that way you're comfortable, and you're safe. But
Okay, great.
you can
That's
definitely do the majority of your training on an indoor bike without a problem. I wouldn't. I don't love a spin class for tri training. I should say, a like, I wouldn't only do spin classes for tri training, because taking a spin class is not the same as riding for a triathlon. It's a little different.
okay, that's really useful to know. Thank you.
I would mix them up. I would mix them up. Well, now, I
Definitely.
mean, this. if you can, do a spin class for an hour, you can ride your bike on the road for an hour and it's going to be fine, right? Like that's a preference. That's a preference thing. I'm not saying you can't take spin classes to do it. You definitely can. So that's it's just riding as like especially spin classes where they do a lot of like they try to fit in ab work and upper body work. It's just different. It's just different. But it's riding a bike. It would prepare you. It would certainly prepare you.
So I have a question
Yeah.
regarding so I had looked at some of these and I was trying to figure out the warmest waters, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like ones that were not open water and maybe lakes or ponds. And the Sharon try, I think, is a bit too soon for
Yeah.
me. Like, I was looking at the distances and I thought, okay, a third of a mile, I could probably pull that off, within a couple of months, but of a swim. But Sharon's try is a half mile, and I think I'd be pushing it, even though it sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Um, like it sounds perfect in terms of running and biking distance. It's just that half mile swim.
Yeah.
Um,
A little
is
early.
there something that's, I mean, I could like just try, but like I also don't want to like drown. So
Yeah.
is there anything that's more comparable, that's sort of comparable to the Sharon's, like in terms of not open water and then also like a shorter swim distance?
So the a lake is open water. A lake
I guess I should
a lake
clarify. Warmer water.
Okay, because lakes and pond, and this is the kind of stuff is like the
Yeah, the
terminology matters,
terminology.
right?
Yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Open water, lakes, ponds, rivers, oceans, those are all open water. They're not contained in a pool. Um, the fresh water, so lakes, ponds, rivers, people,
Fresh water, is
none of
that what
yeah,
we'd
so
say?
fresh, yeah, so fresh water,
Okay.
lakes and ponds are fresh water. Mass like Lake Massapog, Walden Pond, Hopkinton State Park, that's all fresh water. The cranberry try might be a nice one, Barbara. That's a pond, and it's warm. And I don't remember off the top of my head what the distance is. But that's a I think it's a shorter one, but it's also later, so it gives you a couple weeks. And I mean the Pumpkin Man one is also great. It's a pond and it's warm. So when you're talking August and September, it's the water's warm. That is the warmest time of the year for the water, August and September. So the fresh water will be warmer. But even at the Boston Tri, it is an ocean, but it is protected ocean, right? So it's protected in that bay, and it is not like so. The picture here is that's Nantasket. You can even kind of see the waves in the background. Nantasket is open ocean,
Yeah, and it's
um,
cold.
and it is cold. But Boston Harbor, like where they Carson Beach, not as cold as Nantasket, and it's also more protected. So you typically, I don't think I've ever seen a wave at Carson Beach. I don't think
So
I've.
is that where they do the Boston Try?
Yep,
Really? I
yep,
didn't realize it was at Carson.
yep, yep,
Okay.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. So it's they're it's a pretty beginner friendly situation. And I tell you, Lake Massapog is a big lake in Sharon. I've seen whitecaps on that lake. It can be rough. It can be rough. So yeah, if you're looking for the friendliest waters, I would say either what's it called? The Cranberry. The Tidal 9 is also the Hopkinton Reservoir is pretty calm. Cranberry, Tidal 9, or Pumpkin Man would be the calmest waters.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Oh my gosh, it's 9:08. I'm gonna give my plug for the training pods really quickly. So that way, if this is something that might be of interest to you, let you know what it is. So I've created this a tripod because I'm a dork and I like silly things. I thought it was entertaining to say tripod. And what I've done is I've pulled together kind of the basics of things that you need to get yourself started. So, in addition to the 4 week free plan, you'll get a complete 8 week plan that lays out the swimming, the biking, running, when to do your strength training. You'll actually get an 8 week foundational strength and mobility plan that my coach created. She is a triathlete as well, and she created this 8 week plan so that because that's the triathletes was like, well, what should I do? So you've got a strength plan that comes right along with it. We'll have a kickoff call on July 8th to go through in more detail the plan. We'll talk about fueling. We didn't even talk about eating here. More time for Q&A. Everybody will get one 30-minute consultation with me. So that way we can look at your specific needs. Like Libby, you were talking about combining this with your swim training. Like that would be a great time for us to look at how you can adjust the plan to meet both those needs. I did one with someone who is doing a swim run and was also training for a marathon swim. So it's there's always a way to balance it, and you get that time to talk specifically about what you need for yourself. You get my Try Something New guide. It's like a 30-page e-document that just walks you through some more basics that we didn't cover here and some of the things we did cover here. You'll get a race plan template so you can get yourself together. We'll have a race prep and hype call. I thought I put a date, but I didn't write it down here. And I'll also be doing a swim clinic and a mock try clinic in I think the swim clinic is July 25th and the mock try is like April 15th or something like that. And you'll get priority and discount to those. So if you're on the team, oh, that's the other thing. Yeah, you also get access to the team until September 15th. So if you are on the team already, you already have access to the team. It's $75. You get all of this. If you're not on the team, it's $149 because you're also getting access. You're getting that team membership as part of this plan. So I will send that out with if you're getting my emails, you'll see the tripod, the links to sign up for the tripod. That's what this is. And it's basically, a whole bunch of extra support. You'll get me to help you along the way. You get access to the other teammates. Like I said, if you're going to the Pumpkin Man, I will be there. I probably will be at Boston. We went to volunteer last year. It's so much fun to volunteer at a race. That's another great thing. See if you can. There are races happening already. See if you can go volunteer or go watch a race. It's a great way to see what's going on. So that is that. Do you guys have any questions about the tripod or anything else? Yeah.
No, this was really helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm trying to, there we go. Let's close that. Oh, stop share. That's what I want to do. Stop share. There we are. Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope that this helped you out, got you excited about triathlon because that's what we're here for. And it's a lot of fun. It is a lot. It is a lot. I want to say it took me about 2 years. My first year I did one, and then the next year I did two. And by that time, I was like, okay, I think I kind of know what I'm doing. It takes a little time to figure it out. And then, you get some fun medals, you get some cool t-shirts, you meet some exciting people, and, you challenge yourself in a way you never expected. And it's just the things you're going to learn about yourself on the journey are so much more important than any of the medals or t-shirts or all that other stuff. You really, that's the true transformation are the things that you learn about yourself throughout the process. So I congratulate you for showing up to the meeting and being excited about it, because that's the first step. And I hope to be part of your journey along the way.
Thanks, Adina. Yeah, this was awesome. You definitely sold me on being curious and wanting to try it.
Awesome.
Just to clarify, I do see on your website that the tripod program it says it starts July 20th, but I think you mentioned July 8th. It starts a little earlier. Maybe that's just a year over year thing, but
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
clarify, it's a little earlier than
yeah,
that.
the kickoff
Hmm.
call is July 8th. Uh,
Hmm.
and the minute you sign up, you'll get the 8-week program. So,
Okay.
you can start it. It's kind of geared toward those later, the later, I think I
Well,
had,
you mentioned a couple that are in that like end of August, early September,
yeah,
like two
yeah,
week
yeah, yeah,
span. So that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Um,
but thank you for mentioning that. I will
mhm,
update. Yeah, because the kickoff is July. I think if the week one in my mind, we would
mhm.
July 20th would be week one, and that gets you to 8 weeks. Then is like there are six that gives you 6 weeks to get to Boston, or 8 weeks to get to the Pumpkin Man.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that
Yeah.
does make sense. Okay,
Yep.
great.
But the
Um,
kickoff is the kickoff call is July 8th. And as soon as you sign up, you'll be invited into the team, and you'll get the training plan, and you can get started right away. So, and
mhm,
some of like the people who've already signed up, they've already set up their 30-minute call to have with
mhm.
me next. Like I've got one set up already for next week. So once you sign up, everything gets rolling. And the sooner you sign up, the more support you get. So that's the plan.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, and thank you for the webinar. It was really helpful.
Oh,
I
awesome. I'm
appreciate
glad.
it.
All right. Thanks so much, Libby.
Have a nice night.
All
Bye.
right. Goodbye.
Hi, Adina, can I schedule